This is going to be a brief tutorial about a small brick built head that I made, and this is more of a collaboration. So there is a builder on Flickr, aido, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, aido K, and I'll put a link in the description after I get this video uploaded. I'll come back and edit it in because you have to see this piece of work. It is an amazing piece of work. But I've always been interested in posable figures and never done them before, and I figured it's time to try one out. And what Aido did when I was doing my research, so I want to always research the best building techniques for figures because they're incredibly hard to do. And why try to reinvent the wheel when you can get inspired from the best Lego builders in the community? But this, I've never seen as beautiful or proportioned of a head as what Aido did. And I put a message in there. I just started pulling up Bricklink Studio and trying to reproduce it, and I got stuck. So they sent me a studio file with their head, and from that I've modified it down to a very basic head that could then be built from, modified, hair added. So think of this as like a base model that could then have color added to it, different treatments, things like that. So what I'm going to try to do is take this apart, and I'll also link to a Google Drive folder with the studio file that I'm working on, so that hopefully if you can explode the model too, you can build it yourself. But pretty quickly here, for those of you who don't know how to use Studio, I'm just going to gradually start tearing this apart. But I think the look of this, having two bricks for the lips, the nose proportion, if you notice there's a slight half plate offset between the nose and this top part of the head, and this beautiful feature to crease in the eye socket and then slope down to the chin. So this part of the head is what I found utterly fascinating. And I could not, for the life of me, get it done quickly. And I was struggling, but this Flickr mail message arrived, and I went ahead and made a studio file just because I wanted to return the favor and sent this design back to them. So at the core of this thing, it's going to come out, it's all snot work, and it's all plate work, very delicate, but I'm going to pry it slowly apart. Okay, so that's a snot brick for sure. And the trick is way deep in here. And I could have used just a normal brick, but I was kind of making this up as I went along. So there's a lot of little 1x1 round plates, aka studs, stacking in because these are they're easier to find than the 1x1 plates themselves. So the 1x1 plates show up on the outside, but on the inside I always use the studs to conserve using too many of these guys. But there's a 2x6 plate. On the front part of it, lifted up 2 studs high, is a light brick, headlight brick, a plate, a 1x2 plate, and then a 1x1 tile, the cheese slope. And this vertical direction is what gives you that 1/2 plate offset, knocking the nose forward and the forehead forward just a touch. There's a plate. I'm going to have to really shred this thing. Yeah, so there's kind of the top part and the bottom part, so I'll tear that apart. But you can see there's a 1x2 plate and then a tile to match the nose. And there's then a Travis snot brick with studs on 4 sides, a plate, a tile, cheese slopes on either side, and then the most amazing maneuver I've seen. This blew my mind. A Technic brick. So a Technic brick has studs that are recessed, but also can accept that Travis brick stud into it. So it doesn't just accept the stud, it also works as a jumper right into that continued 1x3 plate. So these little inset tubes would normally block a brick. Oh yeah, and then I went ahead and threw 1x1 plates underneath just to complete the look. But snapping that in, that Technic brick is freaking miraculous. That is such an ingenious method. So that's something fun to learn. How am I going to bring this back together now that I've blown it apart? I believe it goes like that. And I believe then the face here is a one stud snot brick to get you a 1x2 plate. These new beautiful curved tiles, and then the curved slopes that inset. I know I'm not using technical names, but don't worry, if you download the file, you'll get all the technical names you ever wanted, and some parts list and all that good stuff. And then this is just kind of playing around with adding a plate to bring this stud snot brick outwards and up. So if I'm trying to show an ear, I want it to be at that eye level. So that gives me that touch of height right there. And then various plates, various cheeses to complete the side of the head. And then I use a jumper, 1x2 jumper, to move that stud forward and then suggest an ear by reusing one of those inset slope pieces. And yeah, it's going to be a little squiggly. The cheese slopes are sitting next to the 1x2 plate with a 45-degree slope. I'm building that up and going into a tile. If I had any white ingot pieces, I would have tried that out, but this is going to have to be good enough. And one can argue the back of the head isn't great, but at least it's suggestive. So there's another snot brick facing outwards this time, going into the tube of a 2x3 plate. More curved slopes because I love them. And the cheese would go too far out into the back. So I just threw a tile on there. It's not perfect. You know, this is kind of bugging me. I could do this better. But overall, the idea was to get a perfectly proportioned head that could then be modified. So that's how this all goes together. And very quickly, just to suggest changes, you can see where the eyes have been positioned perfectly by those snot bricks. So if I say I take off those guys and I put this back on, and let's say I want to go futuristic robot instead of a person. Let's throw in these sparkly blue round tiles. Now I've got kind of a robot look, but the ears aren't right, so let's lose these again and try another piece. So if you're looking for Doctor Who robot-y dudes to come out after you, very, very retro cool robot look starting to appear. And of course I could make that a grill or something, and then you can make it any color you want really. But I could see how if I want to do like long hair, you just start manipulating these pieces off and you start to put clips in, or additional building to address that. But this head effect is great. All right? All good? Okay. See you later. Bye.